Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, for what is truly an action-packed video. This is the kind of video we want to go and get a few snacks maybe, sit back and relax, because we're going to be going through all of the action right here in terms of exits from the club, those who have been confirmed, some are right on the verge of being confirmed, and what all this means for FFP, for the one-for-one rule at Barca. We're even going to be talking today about a shark. Of course, I mean Ferran Torres. And we have the very latest on Nico Williams, as we are now in the all-important month of July. It is all happening. Get yourselves ready. And let's do this. Because let's start, first of all, with Sergi Dominguez. Not the biggest name ever, I'm not claiming that, but they're all important. It all adds up this summer in terms of FFP, because he has now officially joined Dinamo Zagreb in Croatia on a permanent deal there. You may remember the 20-year-old made 6 appearances for the first team last season. When we suffered a bit of an injury crisis at centre-back, he came in, did what he could, did the best that he could, but he has now departed for a transfer fee of 1.2 million euros. So like I say, it's not huge money. Barca will retain a 20% sell-on clause in that deal, and they will also have priority in case of a future sale. So Sergi Dominguez, the first man out of the door in today's video, for 1.2 million euros. Then we have the confirmed exit now of Noah Davic, who has officially joined Stuttgart. He has returned now to Germany. That has been confirmed today by both clubs. And let's actually start on this deal here with the good news. Better news maybe than we thought, because contrary to initial reports from Germany, Barca have confirmed they do actually have a percentage of a future sale included in this deal. At first, we didn't think they were going to. So they have. That's really, really good. They don't actually mention what percentage. You know, it could be a very, very low percentage. We don't know. It could be a high one. We also don't know that either. But we do have something, at least when it comes to Noah Davic. Barca also do have the right of first refusal, meaning they will have the opportunity to match any offer in the future that comes in for Davic if they do want to re-sign him. And that is important, that we have something here, that we haven't just given him away without no future attachment. But now we've done the good news on that deal. Now we've talked about the positives there. Shall we talk about the bad news? Because although there is no official word, by the way, on the transfer fee, not by either club, which is kind of curious, that's just something that's not being disclosed right now. So all that we have to go on is a report in Germany. It's coming from Kicker, who claim, and again, these are only rumours, but it's all that we've got right now, they claim Barca have sold Noah Davic for less than 1 million euros. 1 million? Are you serious? We bought this guy, you know, even when he was 16 years old, for 2.5 million. Have we managed to actually make, technically here, a loss on him, even though he's still a very big talent, even though there's plenty of clubs that were interested in signing him here? Less than 1 million. I hope that rumour is not true, but right now it's all that we have. And honestly, would it surprise you right now with the way we're selling players? Because then we do move on to talk about Pablo Torre. This is another interesting one from that point of view, because, well, talks have been continuing with Mallorca. And again, the good news would be Barca apparently do want to keep 50% of the players' rights there. They would like to have half of any future transfer fee when it comes to Pablo Torre, which is a very, very large percentage, it has to be said. But because of that there, because Barca want that big, big percentage, again, the fee is not going to be good. It is not going to be high. We said that a few days ago here. And again, it's Barca. It's kind of what we expect right now. And the latest news that we're hearing in the media is that Mallorca could pay between, and get ready for this, it's between 4 to 6 million euros. So again, we're talking about pocket change in the modern game. We're talking about the lowest fees you've ever heard here for talented players, you know, moving around from top clubs. You know, look at the Premier League. Look at the kind of money that they're spending. Look at what they're paying for players here. And we're talking about 4 to 6 million. I mean, it doesn't really bear thinking about. The only positive right now is that also, though, in the past few hours, Ajax have really emerged in the bidding. They have actually entered the race here for Pablo Torre. Marseille is another club that is being mentioned, and it remains to be seen right now what Pablo Torre wants to do, because originally he'd said yes to Mallorca. He had agreed to that project. He'd agreed there a 4-year deal with the club, and they're really excited about Pablo Torre, as you can expect. Would be a massive, massive signing there for Mallorca. But will he still go there? What can Ajax come up with? What can Marseille come up with here? But again, the money that we're talking about, it's not ideal. However though, guys, even if it might not be ideal, even if it's not exactly dream money, it is all still going to be very significant for Barca this summer. Because with relation to Pablo Torre here, with relation to exits from the club, multiple sources right now are coming out and saying Barca find themselves just 8 million away from reaching the all-important 1-for-1 rule this summer. And remember, that is the key to signing and registering Nico Williams and others too. The 1-for-1 rule is essential that we get back to that in La Liga, and then things start to get a whole lot easier. And Barca apparently are 8 million away from that. So right now we're thinking, okay, the sale of Pablo Torre, we just said probably that's not going to be enough on its own. We couldn't even get that for him. We've also got the renewal of Frenkie de Jong there, spreading those wages across more years and ultimately improving those terms. That is going to be a saving for the club. So that will contribute as well towards reaching that 8 million figure, and Barca are still searching as well for more income. But there's real faith here that that is not a huge amount, and it remains very much reachable. Which then brings us on to Pau Victor. Now, this is a really interesting situation because I would look at him and say, well, it's quite similar to what is going on with Pablo Torre, what happened in the previous season. I think for him, the potential is there. We've seen some quality from him. We've seen flashes of brilliance, especially when you're thinking about last season in pre-season. He was absolutely spectacular in front of goal, but in the season, he wasn't really able to get the kind of minutes that he needed and ultimately would deserve to develop his game and become the player that he can be. So the question this summer is going to be, what do you do now with Pau Victor? If you were him, what would you do? Would you like to stay at Barca? Would you like to go elsewhere? Do you feel you need to go elsewhere to get those minutes? And if you're the club, do you want to move on Pau Victor this summer? Because obviously right now, you've got Lewandowski ahead of him, you've got Ferran Torres, who we're going to talk about in today's video. And I think as well, if the club bring in another forward as well, not only Nico, but we're talking about somebody like Marcus Rashford, then realistically, Pau Victor is not going to get those minutes as he's going to be in real trouble there. So right now, I think his future does lie beyond Barca, perhaps. We're hearing in the media that Real Betis and Sevilla are both looking at him. They're interested in signing Pau Victor. No indication yet on whether it will be a loan deal or whether it will be something more permanent, more significant, like with Pablo Torre. And I would say right now, Betis, they're the front runners because Barca and Betis have a really good relationship. We don't really share that with Sevilla. So I think Betis right now, they are in pole position. We've done some really good business with them over the past few seasons there. So the relationship is really good. But what would you do with Pau Victor? Do you think that he maybe needs to go elsewhere? It's a bit unfortunate. It's a bit unlucky the way that it's all worked out for him, given the explosive start he had to last season. But let me know that down below. However though, guys, make no mistake, when you're talking about unlucky, when you're talking about situations that really just don't fill you with happiness, well, this is one of those, because it does still really pain me here that we are talking about Ansu Fati effectively leaving the club. He has today officially gone. He has joined Monaco on a loan deal, but they will have an option to buy him outright for just 11 million euros. Now, if he goes there and impresses, if he shows even just some sign of recapturing things, if he gets regular football, if he can pick up a few goals, and if he can stay fit, I think it's almost inevitable that Monaco will want to activate what is there. It could be a very cheap clause for 11 million. But of course, he would have to pick up the wages along the way. That's been the really important thing here for Barca, moving on those Ansu Fati wages. That is also why you will notice today he actually extended his contract before leaving the club there. He had an agreement to extend until 2028. And again, that's all geared towards FFP there, basically spreading the wage, spreading the cost, putting more of it towards the end and focusing here on the short term. We've seen a lot of this, as we said, from Barca. But with all of that said, I do have to say, it still makes me sad though. It still makes me sad, even though in the season just gone, we all saw Ansu didn't have a place in Flick's team. It would have been no good him just waiting around, as he did really from January. He knew that he wasn't going to play. play. Flick made it absolutely clear to him, but he waited around. He saw maybe, is it going to change? Am I going to get that chance? And ultimately, it wasn't going to come, and that wasn't going to change in the coming season. So I understand why he has gone. It's the right call. It's the right decision for him, for his career, for the club, financially. It ticks all the boxes, but it still makes me sad because this is just not the way that it was meant to be. And I see him today there holding that number 31 shirt. You know, that brings back so many memories as well. Memories of when he broke through at Barca, the unbelievable talent we saw from such an early age and the goals that he was scoring. He was lighting up the Camp Nou, and just to see it kind of end and fizzle out in this way, it's just not what any of us could have predicted all those years ago, and it just goes to show you never know in football. You never know what's around the corner. You never know what can happen. And honestly, I just wish him the best of luck. You know, I hope that he can go there, that he can rediscover something. You know, just not even talking about his best level, you know, what he showed before, but just rediscover something in his game to get that smile back, to get that sharpness back. And I would like to see him succeed for himself as a player. Best of luck, Ansu. And let's see what he can do. Because indeed, guys, it is quite interesting. Like I've just said there, in football, you never do know. You know, one day you could be the hero, next you can be zero, but at the same time, it can work both ways as well. You know, you could suddenly find yourself exploding again. And I think it's quite fascinating to see what happened last season with Ferran Torres. And he's a player in general who just intrigues me. You know, I want to know what's going to happen with him in the upcoming season, because I find it really interesting that every single summer that goes by, you don't see Ferran. The season ends, you know, players go off on their holidays, you see them a lot on social media, they're having a good time. You don't see Ferran. You don't hear from him, you don't notice him anywhere, and ultimately, he's working again right now. It is being reported in the media that his pre-season started 15 days ago. He has already gotten back there into training, in conditioning, in getting himself absolutely ready for the new campaign, and I really do love that attitude from him. And you saw last season that it can pay off. You know, he played a very, very important role, even if it was a lot of the time coming off the bench, being an impact player, being a rotational player with Lewandowski. He still had an impact though. He still scored some very, very key goals and helped the team. And I'm just wondering in the season to come, is he going to go to another level? Is there another level to go to? Because we know that Lewandowski probably going to be his last season at the club. There's going to be more opportunities for Ferran Torres here. More chances to show ultimately, I can be the man. I can lead this line. I can be the number 9. And that is what I want to see from him in the next season. Show us what you've got. Because in my opinion, you look at his game, you look at the way that he plays, there is more in there. There is still more that he can extract out of his ability, because sometimes, you know, he still makes a mistake here and there. He still lacks the finishing touch at times. He can still be even better, and I would love to see that. And I thought it was interesting to see today, actually, that he spoke out about Nico Williams. He openly came out and said, I'd love to play with him. I really do want to play with Nico because we could form a good trio. Speaking potentially there about next season there. So Ferran welcoming Nico Williams. Really excited about potentially lining up with him next season. And how do you expect Ferran to be? Can he play another pivotal role in the squad? And can he actually go to higher levels too? Because indeed, guys, that does bring us on to the man himself, to the man in question right now, Nico Williams. And I've got to say, it's still non-stop in the media. You know, they do not stop talking about Nico Williams. And of course, yesterday we had all of those conflicting reports about the negotiations with Barca. Have they broken down? Have they stalled? Have they stopped? Have they just slowed down a bit there? Have Nico's agent been asking for guarantees? And I think what's important in these kinds of situations, guys, in big transfers like this, we want to listen to people who we can trust, you know, people that are very, very reliable. So I think it's important here to look at what Fabrizio Romano has said about this whole situation over the past few hours, because he openly admitted it is true that Nico's camp is asking for something from Barca. They are asking right now for some sort of guarantee on paper, officially there, regarding his registration. So I thought it was fascinating, first of all, that Fabrizio says that's true. You know, it's not something that here has been fabricated and blown out of proportion by the media. Nico's camp are actively asking Barca for a guarantee, and that is said to come more so from his agent's side. You know, we're not really talking about Nico himself right now. It's about the agent. It's about getting things, you know, all done and official on paper. But what Fabrizio was very keen to stress here, I think what's important to note, it's not like this huge panic. You know, the deal is not suddenly overnight all called off. It's not even stalled right now. The two parties are just in conversation, in negotiation. This is what happens in big transfers. You know, you go back and forth. Not everything is rosy every step of the way. And Barca are basically told Nico's camp right now, or they're trying to basically convince them a little bit, can you trust us? You know, put your faith in us to make sure this summer we assure you that Nico will be registered. And what's also important to note right now is that on the release clause, Barca are now going through the steps with La Liga. You know, I think we all thought here, July begins, pay the clause. But I think with Barca, that was never actually going to be realistic. You know, do we think we'd have everything planned and organised and arranged and discussed with La Liga on the first of the month? I think knowing this club, I think we all knew it's not going to be on the first day, is it? They're going to need a bit of time here to go through all those formalities, the technicalities. We saw the same thing happen with Joan Garcia. That was actually a more straightforward deal, really, with the way everything was agreed with him. And even that took some time to get the release clause paid, to get everything in line with La Liga. So these things do take time. And it's interesting, I thought, that Gerard Romero came out and said on when the release clause will be paid. He said two sources told him that the release clause of Nico Williams would be paid on July the 1st. He said one other source said it would be on July the 2nd, and another source told him that they didn't want to give a specific day. And I think what we can learn from that is nobody knows. Absolutely nobody has the faintest idea right now about when Barca will pay the clause. It's not that they can't do it. It's not that they're struggling to do it. It's just about overcoming all of these sort of technical hurdles. And I think right now we're hearing in the media, maybe it could be Friday, maybe it could be the weekend. You know, you just don't know with these situations. But I would say, don't expect it too soon. If it's not paid on the 1st of July, on the 2nd, on the 3rd, don't be thinking, oh, we need to panic now. It just takes time, especially for Barca. They are not quick in doing these things. But what we do know right now, I should say, is that Nico Williams, he's on holiday. You know, and again, it's this situation whereby he's not panicking. He's not stressing out right now. He is on holiday with Yamal. They are reunited. It's been a busy summer for Yamal, hasn't it? He has had an absolute whale of a time on holiday. And apparently the two of them are together right now in Marbella, chilling out, relaxing, waiting for the news from the club. So I would say again on Nico, there's no reason to panic. Maybe guarantees have been asked for. Maybe we're going through the steps right now of paying the clause, but it will all happen. You know, these things take time. Things need to be ironed out. Barca need to achieve the one-for-one rule. Maybe once they've done that, that in itself can be a guarantee. You know, these things are all just coming together slowly. Barca are finalising deals, finalising exits, and I still maintain, I still believe that in the end, this will get wrapped up, and Nico Williams will be a Barca player. So like I said, guys, that was a journey, wasn't it? It was a lot happening right here today, so do let me know exactly how you're feeling. What do you make of some of these exits? What do you make of some of the transfer fees that we're talking about? And what are your thoughts there on the very latest on Nico? When do you think the release clause will be paid? Let's have a competition here. If you can name, I don't know, the date and the hour. Let me know in the comments down below. Tell me the date and the hour that it will be paid. If you get it right, and if you can prove that there, don't edit the comments. If you can prove it, we'll do a shout out or something. You know, let's see who can get closest to the time of Barca paying Nico's release clause. Bit of fun here on the channel, guys. Do let me know all those thoughts down below. I will see all of you very soon. But until next time, as always, Vejska, El Barca.